This is a trade recap for the ES Runner and Euro Runner trading systems for July the 23rd, 2012. Profits on the ES Runner are taken from the start of the cash market open in Europe, which is 3 a.m. We stay out of the first 15 minutes, so we take profits technically from 3:15 through until 9:28, just before 9:30, just before the market opens at 9:30. We close all candles actually at 9:25, one candle before. So profits for pre-market are taken from 3:15 through 9:25 Eastern Standard Time, which is the European market. The regular trading hours, the profit is taken from 9:45 through to 4 o'clock, actually technically 3:58. We stay out of the first 15 minutes of the pre-mark of the regular markets open unless the right conditions are there, where the candles have the right kind of price action. There's consistency. There's not up and down erratic price action. We'll take an entry in the first 15 minutes. This morning there was a trade at 9:42 that happened that I will explain to you here how I suggested the room take the trade. It was very good entry. It was based on smooth price action in the first 10 minutes of the market's open. It was a very good trade to take. And it was also in the direction of the prevailing downtrend today. We had a very large downtrend before the market opened at 9:30. For pre-market here, the first trade taken was at 3:40. It was a scalp. Sorry, a sprint. Entry here, 6 ticks away, was right here. It was technically stopped out. Several traders would have taken a bounce trade here. A bounce trade is a new technique we're going to start using in the room this week. We've been using it for weeks. Many traders are trading on it, having a high success rate. It's had about a 75 to 80% success rate. The bounce trade is very simple. You trade off the first touch. When the prices touch the yellow line, you trade off the yellow line, and you do it as long as the swing in price, the most recent swing low, which is this price right here, as long as this price has been at least 2 points away in distance from the yellow line's price. This low right here is 46 and a quarter. The yellow line at the time was 48 and 3/4. That's 2.5 points. That's a sufficient swing in price from the recent swing low or high to the yellow. When you're in a short, you take swings from the recent swing and low price up to the yellow. You stay under it. You take a short from the bounce of the yellow under it. When you're in a long and you're above the yellow price, when the swing high occurs and falls off and comes down and hits the yellow, boom, you bounce and take a trade off the yellow going long. All right. So this trade lost 6. The sprint did. The bounce made 6 ticks. The next sprint that came in right here, it made 8 ticks from open price here down to here. Then once banking that profit on this trade, you can take the next valid scalps that come in within the series. The series is during the white line, when the smart line is white. The 4 comes in here. It meets the rules of an intra-series scalp. That is to have 3 dots before it, or a 2-point pullback in price between the last scalp number and that scalp number, or 2 arrows on the SSI. It actually fit 2 of the possible 3 rules and only must fit 1 of the 3 rules. So this was a valid scalp to take. That makes 6 ticks from here to there. As you can see, it goes down and makes about 9 ticks, or about 8 ticks. And then this scalp here also fits a rule of intra-series for the same reason this one did. It has at least 3 dots before it. So that's a valid intra-series scalp. And so we have -6, +6. That's a neutral number, 0 of course. We have now +8, +6, +6. We're up 20 ticks for the pre-market morning, which, by the way, the pre-market mornings have been more difficult the past 2 weeks in July. This is good to see a pre-market morning doing very well again. We've had a lot of great mornings before July the 2nd, but with holidays and vacationers, especially a lot of them in Europe, pre-market is not moving as much. And then there was a scalp taken later here that I got in the room at 8:30 in the morning, and I told everybody to not take this scalp, the sprint, if they're in it, to get out of it quickly, because the SSI lines were way, way, way oversold all the way down here. You had conditions that didn't make for probably a good scalp. A sprint down here when the market had moved about 20 points, I think we were at, or about 15 points down here. It's much harder to make money on a sprint down here when the SSIs are oversold than it is to make it up here or even up here. So I suggested to the room after a couple of candles to get out of this trade. and they got out with about 4 ticks of loss right here. So that's 16 ticks of profit for the day. And then when the market opened, that's pre-market, 16 ticks, 4 points. When the market opened, let me go to the 2 minutes. As you can see, we made 2 points today. The regular trading hours were really nice. Starting off, they went short, they turned around and went long, and they went long, and then they went choppy in the afternoon. So I'll walk you through the trades here. First trade here was a scalp. Now, because I'm using historical tick data when I rerun the system here, it'll be 1 bar off. This 1 here did not actually show up in the room for trading. So that sprint trade, the room didn't trade the sprint. They traded the scalp number that came up first, which was right here. So this is actually the trade that took place in the room. About 3% of the time, the live data, the live tick data from eSignal and the historic tick data will be off. So once a week, there's a trade, or twice a week, there's something where 1 candle moves over based on the tick volume being different during the live data feed versus the historic data feed. But nevertheless, the traders got in the scalp here. They made 8 ticks of profit from here. From open price we use, from the scalp candles open price to 8 ticks lower would be right here. Now some traders, you can see, got 2 ticks better in entry before it dropped, but I'm not counting that. We count from open down to 8 ticks, which is right there. Next, the sprint trade came in. I told the room to not take this trade because you were going to likely go against a daily low and maybe create what's called a double tap, a double bottom, which it did exactly that. And then prices, as you can see, shot up hard from the double bottom. So I told the traders to not take this trade, and the room didn't take it. This trade, cautionary trade, very valid trade to take. The cautionary trade's price, the chase price right here, the second price, was only 1 point difference in the first. It was therefore a good trade to take. If it's more than 1 point, we want to look for what's called a 2-point pullback in price to take the entry. Or if it's not a chase price, we just take the trigger price. But this met the rules to take the chase price of 37.75, which was right here. That made 2 points right here. As you can see, it kept going up. Then a scalp came in here. I told the room if they made their 2 points, that was a valid scalp to take. Several traders took it. And then I told them to get out of the trade on the scalp right here when we had seen several bars up here all hit the same price point and fall. That's an indication that prices are going to fall temporarily. And then we had an arrow come in on the SSI, and I told the room to get out of this trade. Matter of fact, a lot of traders actually got out right about here at break even. Some traders waited. So you know what? Actually, most of the room got out right when the candle opened, so it's probably only a couple ticks of loss, maybe 1 or 2 ticks, not a full 4. But I'll just count the 4 ticks right now. But the moment that arrow comes in on the SSI, you should close the moment that the candle opens. When you have an arrow against you on a scalp, get out of it. Not to do the same thing on a primary entry. It's a little bit different, okay? Don't do that right here. But the scalp should make money very fast. That's why it's called a scalp. And if it doesn't, when you get the arrow against you, get out of the trade, okay? All these other successful trades back here, they all had arrows that remained down. There's no up arrows against them. Same for the pre-market. So this trade here should have been exited by most of the room, which actually it was exited by most of the room right here. But some got out at -4, -3, so I'll just count this as -2 because a lot of the room got out at break even. Some others got out at 2 and 3. I'll call it -2. So now we have 8 ticks. We have 8 ticks made here, 8 ticks made there. That's 16. Plus -2 is back to 14 ticks of profit so far. And then this is lunchtime trading. I told the room don't take trades during lunchtime. They don't work so well. That's one of the rules. So the room didn't take this trade. Then the scalp came up at 12.48. The room didn't take this trade either. And then this scalp here was a 2. That's a valid scalp. It prints as a 2. It means that the price of entry is just beyond the yellow by at least a tick. That's a valid trade to take. It's a valid rookie scalp. The first scalp number that goes past the yellow is now printed in blue. The second scalp numbers in a series is a white line. The second scalp number along that series, if it's beyond the yellow, is printed in white. That's called now the intra-series scalp. There's got to be a rule for that. This one didn't meet it. If it's printed in yellow, if a number is printed in yellow, that means the scalp is inside the yellow, which is more dangerous, or it's in the first 5 periods of the trade, which makes it also more dangerous, as you see right here. Okay, very simple rules. So that scalp here is closed at the first aqua triangle. So here to there is 4 ticks. So now we had 14 earlier, we have 4, now we're up to 18 ticks. And then another scalp came in here at 208, closed at the cautionary, the opposite direction triangle for a -1 tick. So now we were 14, we're 18, we're now positive 17 ticks. And then we had a cautionary trade at the end of the day that came in. It went short. I called the exit of this trade here at the opposite direction triangle because we had 3 arrows on the SSI against us. It just didn't look good. And there was a downtrend line from up here going down, and it hit this and then not react the way it should to it. It didn't sell off the way it should at a downtrend line, and after about 2 or 3 candles like this, I called the exit after we had 3 arrows against us on the SSI, which evidences a lot of buyers are coming in all of a sudden. So I called the exit here for a 7-tick loss. So at the end of the day, usually the beer trade has been for 3 months from running the service, has been an outstanding trade. And the beer trade has been for years with these algorithms a fantastic trade. But the last 2 weeks with the vacationers in the US and such, there's not a lot of volume at the end of the day anymore right now. And that'll pick up in August, especially September, October, November, December. We'll have great trades at the end of the day, as we should have throughout most of the day, most of the time, with the high success rate as we've had for the last 3 months. Will be the same in the fall time from September on, maybe even middle of August. But the ranges will get bigger and the moves will get bigger and the points of profit will get larger. But for right now, the beer trade has not been working out so well. The last 2 weeks it's been challenging to make money at the end of the day. So that lost 7 ticks. And then when this trade came in, I told the room to not take it, because we were choppy for 2.5 hours going up and down about 4 points. And I just told everybody, guys, it's moving up too fast. It's moving up way too fast. And I think they're just going to probably come up here and collapse. Don't take the trade. I called off the trade to everybody in the room. And most did not take the trade. The ones who did take the trade were up about 6 ticks. And some, I believe, got out at the opposite direction, the aqua triangle right here. And some of them might have made 4 or 5 ticks, but this trade was one that I called off. And by the way, it wasn't a valid trade either, because it has to print with an R, a blue R. It did not print with a blue R because the price of entry, the open price that is of the candle, the open price of the first candle of the trade was inside the yellow, not beyond the yellow. Secondly, the chase price of 47 was greater. It's got to be within 2 points of the trigger price. It can only be up to 2 points worse than the trigger price. It was 3.25 points worse, so that's why a W printed, which means warning. W's mean that rookie traders don't take this trade, so this trade is not counted at all. First of all, I called off the trade on the trigger price, and then when the warning symbol came in 2 candles later, I told the rest of the room again, I hope nobody takes this trade. Advanced traders, aggressive traders, nobody should take this trade. It's not going to work out well. And it didn't. So that trade at the end of the day is not counted for those couple of reasons. So we have a total then of 10 ticks were made for the day. And on a choppy afternoon on a Monday, that's not bad to make 10. In the regular trading session, 10 ticks, 2.5 points, and we made 4 points in the pre-market. So that's 6.5 points made today, and still 2.5 points made today on a choppy day. So for a Monday in the middle of August, or end of July, it's a very good Monday. Now for the euro. The euro here, going back to 3, we take from 2 a.m., the start of the London session, through to 12 p.m., all trades on the euro. So going back to here. Now in the euro, we had a sprint trade that came in at 155. I'm not going to count this trade, but it did make 20 pips of profit from open here down to here. We had another sprint trade that came here at 330. As you can see from the open to the opposite direction triangle where you get out, it lost about 6 ticks, 6 pips. But since I'm not going to count this first one, because a lot of traders, guys, would have taken this trade, because when the sprint comes in right here, matter of fact, just to keep it consistent, I'll do this. I'll count this trade because the open price at 2 a.m. was actually better in price than the open price of the 155 scalp. So if you can get a better price, you can take a trade after 2 o'clock in the morning. Things get going in Europe about 1:30 and 2 for currency trading. So this was a better price, not a worse price. Let's see here. That is 6. So 20 pips down would be 86. And 86 is right there. So that's a sprint trade. And then we had another sprint trade right here. That was taken right there. And based on the open, based on the opposite direction triangle, which actually looks like the opposite direction triangle came in right here too. Let me explain how to use the opposite direction triangle, okay? The opposite direction triangle for scalps is used when you don't have anything on the SSI line that shows you something favorable. If on the SSI line you have no arrows facing down and you're in a down trade, a short trade, then you should get out at the cautionary triangle, the opposite direction triangle. This trade here on the sprint, by the time you got in the sprint, as you can see, by the time the opposite direction triangle came up, you had 3 arrows going against you, going up. Therefore, you leave this trade, whereas you stay in this trade. That's the difference. Okay? All right, so this trade here lost about 6 pips. So that's going to be positive 20 minus 6 is another 14 pips I'll add later because, again, these fit the rules of entry. If you can get a better price on the signal just before you start taking profits, for example, at 2 o'clock in the morning you start taking trades, you get a better entry price, take it. This trade here from entry at 21.12, you had opposite direction triangles. You had 2 of them, which means this is an exit for a primary entry. Just like the one triangle, the one aqua triangle is an exit for a scalp. You also use the SSI lines. If you have up arrows on the SSI line during that time, stay in the trade. If you have down arrows, get out of it. Get out of that trade here, negative 14 pips. Now, as you can see, it was a temporary shake off and it did turn around and go the other direction. That was a bounce trade right there, by the way. I'm not going to count bounce. I'm not counting bounce trades on the euro yet, okay? But that was a qualified bounce trade, as was that right there. It went through it by a little bit, but it did turn around and make its profit, which would be 15 pips. All right, so I'm not going to count a bounce trade here. It's within 1 pip of it, but it is pretty much a bounce trade. But that's negative 14 pips times the entire contract, the entire position, which is times 2. Here's a scalp here at 15 pips. Here's a scalp here at negative 15 pips. Here's an entry short, which makes the first half at 20 pips, and then break even on the runner is actually hit here. And then here's an entry long, and then an exit at 12 o'clock, which is what we take profits to, and that is 14 pips on 2 contracts. So when you add up all the numbers, it was 20 pips, but then you add another 14 pips for the first 2 sprints of the morning, so it's 34 pips of profit on the euro today. Thank you very much. If you have any questions about the system, please email me at info@es-runner.com. That's ES with a minus sign, runner.com. Otherwise, you can go to the website, www- with, again, a minus sign, runner.com, or www.runnertrading.com, runnertrading.com, which is probably easier, www.runnertrading.com. I'm in the process of changing the website and doing a complete overhaul of it, so keep that in mind when you go to the website. It looks a little rinky-dinky right now, but I'm going to be working on making that much better. What's great about this system are the systems. What's great about the service is the systems. With a very high success rate, let me show you the profitability for the systems so far. That's the twin study. That's made a lot of money, but that's another study for the managed account side of the service. This is the profitability for the system since April the 27th, which was the first day I did any videos. I opened the service up on April the 19th, 2012. I started doing videos on April the 27th. The profit pre-market has been 213 ticks, which is approximately 52 points, 51 points. The regular trading hours have been 980 ticks, which is approximately 250 points. So if you run the numbers, it's 250 points for regular trading hours since April the 27th, and about an extra 50 points of profit on the regular trading hours. So it's been fantastic. I look forward to seeing you in the room. Please come in and check out the system and take a free trial and see why it's so very successful. These are all the profit and losses for the system since the service started. As you can see, a whole lot of blacks and very few reds.